Hi, I'm Roy from Roy's Garage. Today I'm going to be working on a 2005 Cadillac CTS 3.6. I'm going to show you how to replace the radiator fan assembly, and the hoses. These are the tools that I'm going to be using for this job. Hose clamps number 24, 20, tie straps, silicone spray, anti-seize compound, penetrating oil, large screwdriver, hose cutter, flat tip screwdrivers. This is a 5/16 socket, 10 millimeter socket, short Phillips screwdriver, 1/4 inch wrench, 10 millimeter wrench, 1/4 inch ratchet with extension, long nose plier, air hose. This is a transmission cooler hose scissors. This is a Lyle's brand, part number 39660. Door panel remover and a pry bar and an airlift tool to evacuate the cooling system. These are the parts that I'm going to be using to do this job. So radiator fan assembly, radiator, upper and lower radiator hose, radiator cap, and around 2 gallons of deck school antifreeze. Okay, first we're going to be removing the oil filler cap. Then we're going to be removing the top of this cover. You can put your cap back. Then we're going to be removing this air intake and part of this air intake box. Okay, so we're going to be removing these 2 clamps, or loosening up the 2 clamps. Removing this air intake. Don't forget to connect this guy later. Okay, so now we remove the mass airflow sensor connector. So there's a little tab on the side, on this side. You gotta push it in and you gotta pull this thing out. Okay, so I'm gonna be removing this whole air box. There's like 3 10 millimeter bolts we're gonna unbolt. So now I'm going to be removing the wire connector that goes to this fan and to this fan. So what you need to do is push this clip down and pull. A lot of times it's stuck, so you really got to push hard and you got to pull hard at the same time. Okay, that one wasn't too bad. Okay, then what you need to do is you need to pry these tabs off. One there, and there's another one right here. So you got to pry it off the fan assembly. Okay, so I'm gonna pry it off, pry the wire off the fan assembly. Same as the other side. Okay, we're going to be removing the upper radiator hose. Remove this clamp. Some of these clamps are really tough. Remove it. Okay, there's another clamp in here. Okay, so we're gonna be removing the AC bracket. You need one, a Phillips screwdriver. I got a short one with a 1/4 inch wrench. Okay, now that we removed the AC bracket, now we're going to be removing these 3 bolts for the fan assembly. So I took the screws off. Now there's a strap that straps the wire harness to the fan assembly, so we're going to have to remove that so we can get a long screwdriver, stick it in from the top and pry it out. Like that, and just pry it out. And it's not that easy, but you can do it. Okay, now we're gonna pull this guy out. Okay, the strap that I popped out is like right here. It goes right, this goes right into the radiator fan assembly. You just gotta pry it out, and even if it breaks, that's okay. You gotta get it out. Okay, we're gonna be removing this panel, this plastic panel, and it's held on with a bunch of plastic clips. Remove the clips and remove the panel to get access to the bottom. This is the panel that I removed from underneath the car. Majority of the original clips were broken because due to the age of the car. So majority of these had tie straps in it. So what I did was I cut off all the tie straps, and I think there were only like 2 plastic retainers that I took off. So when I put it back on, I can put back the 2 plastic retainers and tie strap this guy back on. So now I'm going to be removing the transmission cooler lines from the radiator. So first, I'm going to be removing this bolt right here, this mount. Then I'm going to be using this tool to remove the cooler line. I'm going to be listing this in the video. what you need to do is wrap it around, shove it in, and it's going to open up the clamp. And when it does, then you pull the hose out, and it ain't easy to do. You got to really force it. Sometimes you can shoot some penetrating oil inside to kind of help it out. Okay, now we're going to do the other side. Okay. Okay, we're going to be removing this lower radiator hose from the radiator and from to the motor. Wait, no. Okay, this is the engine side, so you got to squeeze this hose clamp together. Just remove it. Wow, this guy is on there. Sometimes this hose is really stuck, so just get one razor blade and split it open. Okay, we're going to be removing this small hose. Okay, move this rubber piece. Okay, I'm going to be removing sure you transfer this to the new radiator. Okay, we're gonna disconnect the radiator from the transmission, the AC condenser. So we got 2 bolts up here, and underneath get 2 more bolts. Okay. Shoot some penetrating oil. Where is it? Okay, now get 2 more. It's in here. I can get it from the bottom. Okay. Okay, and the other side. Wait to get some penetrating oil. Sometimes you gotta work them back and forth. You don't want to just force it and snap the bolt. Here we go. Okay. Okay, so now I'm going to be removing these plastic clips. Okay, now we're gonna go to the other side. After we remove these clips, we're going to pull the radiator out. Okay, this is the old radiator. So these rubber mounts, we're going to have to transfer these mounts to the new radiator. So these things just pull right off. You just pull it out. And transfer it to the new radiator. Okay, this is the new radiator. I'm going to be mounting these rubber mounts. Sometimes the radiators that you buy, it comes with a mount, but in this case it didn't. So I'm going to be transferring the old mounts to the new radiator. I'm going to be installing the radiator, but first I'm going to show you which holes to put it in. So you got to mount it in this hole and this hole. Okay. Okay, so now we're going to be installing these plastic clips on the side of the radiator. Okay, so now we got these things on, the retainers on, so we're going to do the other side. I'm going to clip the retainers back on this side. Okay, so now I'm going to secure the AC condenser to the radiator. So what I'm doing is I'm getting some anti-seize and I'm just coating the bolt with it. So that way it goes in, and the next time we ever do it, it's easy to come off. So you got two on the top, you got two on the bottom. So don't bolt this thing on tight yet, just screw it in hand tight. Okay, now you got two on the bottom. We're going to be lubricating these bolts with anti-seize. Okay, so we can tighten it up. You need the light down. Okay, and tighten it up. Okay. Okay, so now we're gonna tighten up the two top bolts. Okay. Then we're going to put on this bracket. I usually use never seize on all these bolts, but that way the next time it's easier to come off. Okay, this is the old hose. This is the new hose. This is an aftermarket one. This is a, what brand is this? It's a Continental brand. So anyway, sometimes these hoses are a little bit longer, yeah, than the original. If you want the exact same one, you gotta buy one from the dealer. But this is an aftermarket one. So we gotta cut it off maybe about that much. It's a little too long. So what I do is I have my hose cutter, just about there. Yeah, around there. Now we're going to install it. Okay, before I install the hose, sometimes it's really hard to put the hose on when it's dry. So usually I get some silicone spray and I'll just shoot the hose a little bit. And a little bit on the engine side and the radiator side. It makes it easy to slip in. Sometimes if it's dry, it's really tough to put in. Okay, so this clamp right here is a number 24 clamp. Bring it up a little more. So what I'm gonna do, with a 5/16 socket, I'm gonna tighten it down. I don't like to reuse the old wire clamps. Sometimes these wire clamps, they don't clamp on that good, and long term the radiator hose will pull out. So I usually use these worm clamps, make them tight, and no problem after that. So this one, I faced it downwards so I can go underneath and tighten it up. It's up to you where you want to position it, but just make it real convenient for you. Okay. We're going to be putting on the transmission cooler line to the radiator. With my silicone spray, I'm gonna lube the radiator side and the hose side. That way it slides in easier. What you need to do is just shove it in. You hear it lock, it's gonna lock. Do it the same to the other side. If you don't lube it, it might get stuck, might get a hard time. So give it a little bit lube and it makes it a lot easier. Okay, make sure that guy goes in, and then don't forget to tighten up this mount. Okay, this one doesn't have a bolt hole in it, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna remove this bracket, and then we're gonna put this hose, we're gonna slide it up into this slot. And that's it. That's the new version. We're going to be drying out this electrical connector because what happened is when I disconnected the hose, some of the antifreeze went into there. So all we're going to do is just blow, shoot some brake clean inside. Then with the air gun, we're just going to blow it out. And we'll do it to the other side. We can clean it off. We don't have to clean up. No, we will clean them anyway. I will clean this guy out too. Okay, so make sure you slide this hose underneath this bracket. Shoot some silicone spray. Makes it a lot easier to slide on. Put this clamp on. This you can reuse. Okay. So install the fan assembly, and it's going to be slipping right into these slots. These two slots, this one and this one. Now to install the fan assembly, what you can do is I'll go underneath and then make sure it's in the slot. Okay, it went in. So now we're gonna secure the radiator fan assembly to the radiator with 3 screws. Good idea to use some never sees, that way it goes in easier, and later on in the future if you got to take it apart, it's a lot easier to come out. Doesn't matter which bolt you tighten first. Don't over tighten it. Okay, next I'm gonna have to secure the AC bracket to the radiator fan assembly. Okay, because this is an aftermarket fan assembly, it doesn't have the mount to secure the AC line. So what we'll do is just remove this bracket from the AC line. And just leave it just the way it is. Shouldn't have a problem. Okay. Now I'm going to connect the electrical wires to the radiator fan motor. But before I connect it, I like to put some dielectric grease in the female side of the connector. That way it doesn't get corroded. And then just shove it in. Make sure it locks, and then this bracket, snap it in. Same as the other side. Put some dielectric grease right in this. Wait. Put some dielectric grease right inside of this connector, the female side. Slip it in. Make sure here, click. Secure the wire to the fan assembly. Okay, so now we're gonna put on this rubber piece. Okay, now we're gonna connect the upper radiator hose. I'm gonna lubricate the hoses. Radiator side, the engine side. This is with silicone, so it won't ruin the holes, or it won't bother the antifreeze. Okay, we're gonna tighten it down. Make sure your hose is all the way on. Okay, so now I use a screwdriver to tighten up the clamp, and usually I like to use a 5/16 socket to tighten it up. The final. Okay. Okay, so now we're gonna install the air box. So 3 bolts. Okay, 3 bolts securing the air box. Installing the air intake. Shoot some of this silicone spray. Make sure you put this hose in. This one hose over here. Tighten it up. I gotta look for that mass airflow wire. Should be right here. Some dielectric. Make sure it snaps in. Okay. Now I'm going to show you how I vacuum out the cooling system. I'm going to be using this airlift tool to vacuum out the cooling system. And I'm going to be vacuuming about 16 inches of vacuum, and I'm going to have the vacuum pull the antifreeze into the motor. This way it eliminates all air in the cooling system. If you have air in the cooling system, your engine will overheat. Okay, this vehicle has a remote coolant recovery tank. So if you just put antifreeze in here and start the motor, the block and the radiator is going to be full with air, and it won't circulate, so it's going to overheat. So on this type, it's very hard to get the air out. But if you use this tool to vacuum out the system, it's real simple. So this is how you do it. You just put it in here, and you got to tighten this guy down. So what's happening is it's expanding the rubber, so it's going to seal the reservoir. Make it really tight. Okay, I'm going to vacuum out the system. So connect that on. Connect the air. We're going to pull about 16 inches of vacuum. So just leave it on a little while. And that should be pretty good already. Yeah, about that long. Shut this off. So now it's going to be holding a vacuum. So what we need to do is connect this guy to your vacuum tool. Connect this guy into your coolant bottle. Open up the valve. Open up this valve. And now the coolant is going to be sucking in. So you got to make sure that you don't run out of coolant. So you got to kind of feel, you know, when the thing starts getting a little lighter, turn it off. Go to the next. It's going to vacuum in really quick. So this is how you remove all the air out of your cooling system. Okay. And at the same time, you can be watching your radiator hose. If it opens up, then it's all finished. So you just shut this guy off, disconnect everything. Disconnect your airlift tool. So what you can do is just top off your antifreeze. This one looks like it's pretty full already. Then what you can do is you can run it. Well, right now we're gonna put the plastic chute underneath the vehicle, drop it down, and road test it, and maybe take it around for about 3 miles. Come back, let it cool down, recheck the antifreeze, top it off, make sure there's no leaks, and you're good to go. Okay, so remove your cap. Install the plastic covering. Put the cap on. Okay, Okay, so we're going to be installing this plastic shield. There's only two retainers left. The rest I'm going to have to use zip ties. Okay, we road tested the vehicle for about 3 miles. Brought it in, let it cool off, topped off the fluid. Everything looks good. Fans all working. No leaks. That's how you replace a radiator fan assembly, and radiator hoses. If you like this video, please subscribe and give me a thumbs up. Thanks for watching. Aloha.